Welcome back to another week on the small holding, and as you can see we're starting off in the pig enclosure. So as you guys know from the last video, the pigs have gone off to the abattoir and we've got them back and they're in the freezer and all of that good stuff. So we've got a year's worth of pork in the freezer now, which is fantastic. But what that does mean is that we need to do something with the ground that they've been on. So now the pigs have been on here for a good few months. It's a well fertilised area that we've had pigs on here previously, but we won't be having pigs on here next year, or probably not the year after, just so the land doesn't get pig sick, and we'll be moving them to somewhere else when we do get pigs next year. But we've got to deal with this now, because if we don't touch this, the weeds are just going to come through at pace. Basically, they'll be quicker than what we can stay on top of them. So what we've decided to do, as you can see, Stephen's just picking out the weeds. There's only a few that have come through since the pigs have gone, so before it becomes too much for us to stay on top of, we're going to get some black tarpaulin down or the ground membrane, just to make sure that they don't come up too much in between now and the winter, until we decide what we're going to be doing with this area, really. So we've got these panels here which were to stop the pigs from chewing the wooden fence. Stephen's going to take those off because we'll use those to weigh down the ground membrane, and also he's just been working along the bottom of the stock fence in there, taking all of the barbed wire and the extra bits and pieces out, just to make sure we don't forget about it. So I better get busy. While Steve's just getting those panels off, I've just come in the veg plot and I've harvested, well, Grace has taken up the garlic for me that's now dried out, and I've harvested quite a few courgettes just down there on the floor. We're having those literally every night, which the kids aren't thrilled about, but I love them, and so they're working really well. And you'll see the beetroot, all of the different beetroots that we've got are fantastic. There's some quite big ones there that I can harvest now, just on an as and when we need them basis. And these are some of the turnips that, so the little turnips, not the Swedes, that are ready to harvest too. And I'm going to re-sow quite a few. I'm just checking on the horse, I could see her in the background. Flies, again, irritating her. I'm going to re-sow quite a few of those too, because not all of these came up, and some of the ones that did got eaten. But it's looking really healthy in here. I want to show you some of the cabbages that we've got coming up as well. So we've got this row of cabbages all along here. These are obviously green cabbages, looking fantastic. Starting to form. Love Savoy cabbages, one of my favourite things. And then the red ones, not doing as well, but there's quite a few that are doing okay, so we'll take that. I'm going to do a massive sauerkraut session with the red cabbages. Just turn around. I'm going to do a big sauerkraut session with all the cabbages, actually, not just the red ones. And there's some leeks under there, but they're being overshadowed by the tomatoes, so that's a lesson for next year. But these outdoor tomatoes are starting to come on really well. They haven't been pruned back or anything like that, but I will come in and just take off some of the bottom leaves and maybe try and tidy them up just a little bit. And then the carrots on the next row are starting to come. Let me see if I can get in and show you some, so you can see them there starting to show. So a few of these will be ready for as and when eating, and we're going to get, this week, we're going to get put in our last sowings of carrots and beetroot, so that'll be for our winter pantries. So all of these at the moment are for fresh eating, potentially some preserving, but we'll see how we get on. But it's looking really well. And these potatoes, some of them starting to die back, as you can see. So those that die back we shall be harvesting and seeing how the potato harvest is going to look this year. Oh, that's a little bit dangerous, isn't it? Oh, I'll pull that out. But yeah, really, really pleased overall. I'm going to use that last telegraph pole to weigh down this last bit here, but as you can see the heavens have just opened, so I'm going to get finished and go in for the night. Oh.
Right, we need. Well, there's a good job done. Now we'll go in and get dried off. Why this looks like it's set in for the night.
Welcome to Tuesday. Goodness me, what a day it's been. Nightmare with work. But anyway, I've come in to the stores room. First of all, because I need just to give my brain a rest. I need to do something different other than look at a computer screen all day. Because when I filled up our freezers with the pork, so the 2 pigs that we brought back, and I said I hope that's going to all fit in the one freezer, and it did, and I was very pleased. Totally forgot that there was the bacon to come back. So we've just got back, I think it was 44 packs of back bacon, a load of streaky, and a few bags of bacon bits. And of course I've got no freezer space in the garage to put them in. So our little freezer in stores, it's about time that it started getting utilised anyway. So although we're doing the pantry challenge in September, which I'm going to be starting utilising all of the stuff for in September, we may as well get a head start and see what we can use out of this now, because really I need to get this good bacon in the freezer quickly, or at least in the fridge if nothing else. So I'm going to have a look what's in here. I'm going to sit down, and I've got the big crate full of bacon there that we're going to get fitted in. I'm going to cool off because it's absolutely roasting. Even though it's really windy, it's one of those days where it's like 24 degrees but it's really muggy. So anyway, that's your weather report. I'm going to have a look. It's full. Okay, let's turn around. I'll show you guys what we're dealing with. So this is one of those skinny freezers, skinny tall ones, and it is full. Now in here there's lots of bits and pieces that we could use quite quickly. So I've got some soup bits here. This was tomato and courgette soup from last year that I didn't like on its own, but I found out when you use it with some pasta, as a pasta sauce or with some other soup, it's absolutely delicious. And then there's all the other bits and pieces. You can see a lot of it's homegrown or home raised stuff. These are fruit from the garden. I think this might be some brambles that we were given. Aldi blueberries, breadcrumbs, stock. Goodness me, all the things. Okay, so what I might have to do is look at doing a canning session with a lot of the stock. Could do that. Anyway, I'm not going to bore you with all of it, but basically this is what we're looking at the moment. And in order to get ahead with the pantry challenge, which you guys know I'm going to be doing different videos on, so it's not just going to be all on the vlogs. So if you're interested in that, you can watch those individual videos. But this is just a sneak peek at what we're dealing with in the meantime. I've actually taken out the last of the pork broth that we've got from our last pigs. I haven't made any from this round of pigs, just because we've got absolutely loads. And we let the bones go to somebody else basically. So now what I've managed to do is empty this square within the freezer. There was some of the pork broth was in there, and there was also just these few meals that are in there, which is just leftovers, and I've managed to fit all of that in there. So I want to get this closed nice and quick now, because obviously this freezer is going to have to come back down to temperature because it's been open a little while I've been doing that. But that's all of the streaky bacon and the rest of the back bacon, because I've got quite a bit of that in the house freezer too. At least all of that's got some space now, so we don't need to worry about that we don't need to worry about that going off or anything like that. It's all straight into the freezer, so that is a really good job done. Excuse the panting dog by my feet. But tonight we're going to be having a lasagna, but typically not a normal lasagna. It's going to be a courgette lasagna. So homegrown, we're going to be using up the first batch of pork mince that we've got. We've got 2 courgettes from the garden, so just reasonable size, not huge ones. And I'm going to be starting off our own garlic today as well. I actually forgot to bring the onions in, but we've got some in the pantry that need using anyway. So it's going to be quite a good homegrown tea. I'm going to be doing it kind of keto style because Stephen's still doing that. So that's why, one of the reasons that we're using courgette, trying to keep carbs down during the week. But also it's what we've got, it's what we're growing. So very excited about that. And I've decided what I'm going to be doing with all of the stock that I've taken out, because I've had to take some of the bagged stock, which is this, out too, which is out of the freezer behind me. I'm going to get some soup canned so that I can make some shelf stable soup to get on the winter pantry, because I'm taking part in the Every Bit Counts challenge, which is done throughout all of August. So trying to preserve something every day. Now tonight I'm actually going to do a honey fermented garlic, so for the winter pantry, as in for ailments and things like that. But I'm going to get started with looking up the ingredients that I'm going to need to make a soup. Hopefully I've got most, but if not, we'll be able to pick some of those up if necessary, but hopefully we'll be able to use mostly homegrown. But apart from that, I'm going to get busy with this lasagna. I'm going to have a nice tea, and then we've got some things to get done in the garden tonight. Dog's by my feet. Oh, did ya? And that's why you're on a lead, miss. Well, it's Wednesday, straight after work. It's been a really yucky day at work. Even though I've been working from home, it's looking at the screen all day long. So as soon as I'm done, I'm outside for a walk with Annie tonight. Stephen's not home just yet, and it's actually a lot warmer than I anticipated, so I do not need this jumper on at all. It's just nice to be out when all you've been doing all day is listening to calls, looking at a computer screen. We'll see what tonight brings. Happy Friday. I just want to show you why I think that we need to get a better fence. Can you hear? When I've said before. So this is the shed that I let the chickens out of every morning. Hi guys. These are our neighbours' cows. They're absolutely lovely, but all that's stopping them coming through is a rickety old fence and some Harris fencing. And as you can see, let me show you. As nice as they are. And so pretty. But I really don't want you taking my fence down, guys. Hello, darling. You're pretty. You are. They are quite nervy, but if you can see here, so this fence is really rickety, which is the original fence, which is why we've put this Harris fencing up on the outside. So yeah, we need to make sure that this gets replaced at some point, because if one of these guys decided they wanted to be through or jumped up to the leaves to get something to eat, that would be it, game over. And we'd have lots of cows in our field. Now I'm going to go because you're getting interested in what I'm doing, and I don't want you following me up to the house. The other side, and they are absolutely gorgeous, but you can't come in here. That's the other thing, if they got frightened and scattered, they'd take this down in a flash. Go on, best be off for the day. Follow your mates. The other problem is, or the same problem, so the Harris fencing stops there, and then here is just flaky stock fencing that the farmer's not replaced yet, so we definitely need to get on that. I don't think it's ours to do, but regardless, we want the privacy fence up that we've got in the orchard, but this bit here definitely needs replacing. I mean, they're all there at the moment because the chickens are there and they've seen me feeding them, so obviously they want some of the food. At least if they get into here, into the paddock that I'm in now, this is completely fenced off. It wouldn't be fun, of course, but at least it's completely fenced off. Anyway, I've got jobs to do. Well, as you can see from the very busy countertops behind me, I'm finally having a kitchen morning and catching up on a lot of preserving that I've been wanting to get done. So all that stock that I took out of the freezers to make some space is getting made into a carrot soup. So carrots are nice and affordable. I haven't had to use all the ones out of the garden to make this. And I'm going to get about 14 pints of soup to put on the pantry shelves. Now, carrot soup isn't something that we would normally think of making, but we probably won't use it just as a soup. I'll probably use it as a base for other soups, but also for pasta sauces or for general sauces. We don't actually eat that much pasta, things like that. So I'm really pleased to be able to get all of the stock used and also to be able to get the other ingredients for dirt cheap, because these are just wonky carrots. But peeling £10 worth of carrots this morning has taken its time. Anyway, they're all in that bowl there, and I'm just about to set the tripod up and just quickly show you what else is going into this, and it's just going to simmer nice and easy. You don't have to dice anything, just nice chunky vegetables going into this stock pot. and it'll just simmer for an hour. Then we'll blitz it up and we'll get it canned later on. I'm not going to can it straight away because I've got other things I want to get done, so it'll probably cool down. Then I'll bring it back up to temperature to get it into a hot canner so that we don't have any shatters or anything like that of the glass, and get those canned later on today. But I'm really pleased to be getting some stuff done in the kitchen. I've got full counters that I want empty probably by lunchtime ideally, because Jack and I are going to go foraging a little bit later on. Next day we're reheating this and we're just going to get it in some jars, get it canned whilst I'm working in the garden. Pressure canner can do its thing while I do my thing. Well, Jack and I are finally out foraging, and we've come somewhere that's about a 15-minute drive from home, I think it is, which is a little bit far, so it's not somewhere that we can walk to, but there's tons of brambles and fireweed and it's safe to get to, so we've just left the car and we're going to do that now. Jack's just kindly reminded me I went to pick some brambles and they were a little bit low down. And what did you say?
Dog territory height.
Anyway, look, this is what we've, all of these along here. It's really early, it's the beginning of August, and we would never normally get brambles at this time of the year. But with the weather being the way it is, everything's come a little bit earlier. So we've just come to have a look, see what there's not all of them are ready, but some of them are, so we'll just have a little look, and if nothing else, it's a day out. Well, it was a full tub of brambles already, and there's plenty more where they came from, so we'll come back with the 4 of us next week probably and get some more of them. And now we're just going to have a walk down the lane. The car's parked up there and there's fireweed all over the place at the moment, so we'll probably grab some of that on the way back. We're just having a look what there is really. Not sure if we're going to get anything else, but I've got my handy little foraging sack, or satchel. Yeah, just a little bag that we got for Christmas. Never had a chance to use it yet. The only thing is it's like a canvas, so you can't put brambles or anything in it like that, because obviously they'll just stay in it, but it's still cute. If you go down to the woods today, an apple tree, or a big apple tree with little, oh, there's one there. We'll have to come back and see if they're any good in September. So we've come back with a jar and a bit full of these brambles, which I'm really pleased about. So they are just going to go in the fridge. I'm going to get them cleaned up and washed, and then they'll go in the freezer until the weekend, because we're not actually going to use them until next weekend now for a bramble and apple pie. But I'm really pleased with that, and we've got a few windfall apples as well. Well, I pressure canned the soup, and for the first time ever I've had quite bad siphoning and not all of the jars sealed. Now I think I know what I did wrong. By the way, sorry for the background noise, it's Annie's having a tea. What I did wrong was I vented my pressure canner as you're supposed to, but I was worried that the heat was on a little bit too high. So then when I put the little jiggler on for it to come up to pressure, I'd turned the heat down too low, so it took forever to come up to pressure. And when I realised, I turned it up, and I think it's all got the canner a little bit out of sync, and I'm pretty sure that's what I've done wrong. Anyway, we still have, I think, we've got 11 jars of carrot soup for the shelves, and I've got a little bit that can go in the freezer because it wasn't spoiled, it just wasn't sealed. So, oh, that's okay. Live and learn, but I'm really happy. So they might not be as full as they were, and maybe that was part of the problem as well, but I'm really pleased with that. So lessons learned, but all good. It's an absolutely gorgeous day. Well, my kind of gorgeous. I much prefer more autumnal style days. It's going to get out hot later, but it's early morning now. I'm just doing all of the animals. I'm going to get the chickens some water, and we've got a lovely day of just being at home and getting lots of things done here. Lots of pottering. Can't wait. We're going to do a little bit in the greenhouse, and then when it gets too hot in here, we're going to go outside. So for now, I've got this spot here, which I will water once I've got some seeds in. I'm going to use some British basil. So I've had no basil of any decent amount already this year. So I heard of British basil on Mossy Bottom's YouTube channel, and I was like, got to find out about this. And apparently it's really good for our climates to grow outside, so I'm going to get some sown outside as well. But for now, I'm going to get some sown in here, because what I want to do is have this bed all along here as a herb bed over the winter basically. So we've got a few peppers that are doing okay. We haven't really got much fruit. We've got some fruit growing, but nothing that's ready to pick. And I just want to get all of this sown before it gets too hot in here. And then we're going to go outside and get some beetroot and things like that direct sown. So essentially it's going to be the winter pantry stuff that's getting sown today, so outside. So it'll be the carrots, the beetroot, the turnips, those kind of things that I want to store over winter. But first of all, there's some weeding that I'm going to need to get done down the bottom and things like that. So we'll see how we get on. We'll see how this does together. At the front I've got the British basil. At the back I've got this one. Can't remember if that's the giant one. And then on this side of the drain pipe I've got, what have I got? Parsley. So the Italian giant flat leaf parsley. So we'll see how that goes. I've got absolutely loads of this because I want to use it to make pesto. But I thought I'll give it a go in the greenhouse. There's nothing else going on in here, and we'll see how we get on. I'm going to give this a water now because the sun's come out, so I'm going to go and work along the bottom plot. As always, it is so windy. So what we've got going on here, we've got two different types of beetroot. At the front, Bolt Hardy and Courgette, then further along I think it's Pablo further along up there. But there's some quite good sized ones starting to come through. So I'm pleased with these, and these will be for fresh eating through the summer, and we're going to get some more in for the winter. I've cleared the pathway. Let that train go past. And then we've got some more courgettes coming here, so I'm going to take the flower off because that's a reasonable enough size, obviously being pollinated, and it'll just end up with a soggy bottom if I leave it on, because that's what happens around here. Same with this one. Just take those flowers off. Right, and what I've done, you can see that one. And what I've done here, we've got 2 rows of carrots, which I've just weeded, and they're actually doing quite well. Let's have a little look, see if there's any. Can you see the tops of the carrots there? So we can start pulling from these. Again, the purpose of these is fresh eating through the summer. Oh, there's a garlic there. So these beans here are the drying beans. They're doing really well. So they literally stay on the plant until they're dried. And as you can see, I've just been weeding. Now, the tomatoes, Outdoor Girl tomatoes, I always find them quite prolific, but these guys have sprawled crazy, and I haven't looked after them in terms of stake them up, etc. But one thing I have learned about being down here, if we go over to the beans, is that everything needs to be supported extra well, because if you go down the back, can you see this cane here, which would normally be fine, is toppled over, and these are swaying in the wind. So down here is a lot more exposed than the other plots, so I need to know about that, learn from that for next year. But what you can see has happened with these tomatoes taking over, there's actually leeks all the way down here which have been totally decimated, I think, by the tomatoes. We'll see if they pick up, but I'm not even going to try and tame these now. I'll just see what happens with them, and hopefully all of these will ripen. They're all for preserving these tomatoes, so they usually get to a good size. There can be some funky shapes, the Outdoor Girl ones, but I like them. So they're just gonna stay like that. And some of these red cabbages have done really well, some of them not so well, so I'll give the ones that haven't done very well to the sheep because they love them. And then these savoys here are doing fantastically, so we'll just give those a bit of a weed in between, and then that's a good job done. I'm really trying to get stocked up on everything over winter, as you guys know. I have a feeling it's going to be a long, cold winter, and I don't mean to sound miserable and downbeat, and I love a long, cold winter, to be honest, but with every other challenge that we've got coming about staying warm through the winter, I think that might be quite difficult for some. But for us, that means stocking up the food as much as possible. The garden might not be as productive if it's long and cold, nothing will be growing, it'll be about overwintering stuff. So I want to make sure that I've got space for the garlic to go in as well, because I'm thinking about the autumn garlic planting, the autumn onion planting. I'm going to be doing a separate video on that actually, because I've got some stuff that I've already ordered, and some of the seeds that are going in soon as well, for the onions towards the end of August. And I've got, yeah, all sorts of things that I'll do a separate video on that, but for now, for this, I want to get it cleared so that it's ready for the next thing, and just doing as much as we can really to get stocked up for the winter. The shelves are filling up with all of the preserves that we're doing, and I just want to make sure that we've got all this good stuff here, which, as I say, we'll be eating fresh. I'll be preserving some of it. There's a little nettle came to see me, and I'll preserve what we can't get to, obviously, nothing will go to waste. But yeah, lots of thoughts around that at the moment. Is enough for a meal.